Good afternoon. It is July 28th, 2024. It's the 17th Sunday in Ordinary Time. And I'd like to begin by having a shout out to all the grandparents out there, because today is the National Day for Grandparents. An opportunity for us to reflect upon our relationships with our grandparents and what are we doing to improve them. Because that's always the key to everything. What am I doing to improve my relationships? In the Gospels today, we hear the story of the feeding of the 5,000. And of course, we get this image of Jesus taking care of his flock, his sheep. They're up on the mountain, he's trying to go away by himself, and all of these people come to him. And what do they express? They express a need. They are sheep without a shepherd. But they're coming because they've seen something. They've heard about the miracles he's done. They've heard about what he's done for the sick. And they're looking for something. They need to be fed. And not just physical feeding, it's that spiritual feeding that they're looking for also. In the first reading today from the prophet Elisha, we hear how Elisha is brought the first fruits and he immediately offers them back to the people. And the fear is there's not going to be enough to go around, right? Well, kind of like the gospel. We got 5 barley loaves and 2 fish, and it's going to feed 5,000 people. How does it do that? Well, grace and benevolence of God. But do we trust in that? Do we believe in it? In the readings, they tie us right back to the beginning of time, to Adam and Eve, to Cain and Abel. Adam and Eve, given one simple rule: don't eat from this tree. Eat from anywhere else you want, but don't eat from this tree. And our sinfulness, our weakness, they succumb to temptation. How often do we succumb to temptation instead of turning to God for God's assistance and strength? Cain and Abel, we have the offerings from Cain, we have the offering from Abel, and all of a sudden there's jealousy because God preferred Abel's to Cain. Cain was the one that came up with the idea. The downside of it is, did Cain's offering measure up? It's kind of like when our parents say to us, did you do your very best? And of course, well, yes, I did my best, But did you really? Did you really? In our relationship with Jesus Christ, the same is said, right? Did you do your best? Did you do what you were capable of doing? Did you live out the gospel message? Did you live out the commandments? Did you live out the relationship with Christ to the best of your ability? And frequently we come up short. And that's where the humble, contrite heart comes into play. What does God seek from us? He seeks a humble, contrite heart. The humility to recognize our weakness and the contrition that says, I messed up, I need forgiveness. And so within the midst of that, there's many great challenges. Primarily for us is our working relationship with Jesus Christ. Do I recognize my dependency upon him? Do I recognize the need for Christ in my life? Or have I sort of pushed Christ to the side because I don't really need him because things are good in my life? Because frequently for a lot of people, the only time they call on Christ is when things hit the fan, which is not a good thing. So when we look at these readings and we reflect upon these readings, the question is what am I offering back to God? Am I offering back to God in the manner to which God has blessed me and graced me? Do I even recognize the blessings and the graces God has bestowed upon me? Or do I think it's all about me? No, I did that. Well, where do you think you got your gifts? Where do you think you got your wisdom, your knowledge, your understanding? We are made up of 2 parts. Nature, what God gave us. Nurture, what society, our family, our community gives us. But the nature, that's God. And God provides nurture also, because he feeds us on the Word of God, he feeds us on the Eucharist to help make that nature come to its fullness. But if I don't recognize that, then what is the relationship that I have with God? And too often we want to push God out of the relationship because we like to think it's all about me. I'm the one making the choices. I'm the one making decisions. And that's true. But where's your guidance coming from? What is guiding you in your decision making? Is it love of neighbor, love of God? Where's your decision making coming from? And one of our biggest struggles that we have, whether we're Catholic, Christian, Protestant, whatever, we all come down to one thing: choices. You and I have to make choices, but what kind of choices are we making, and what is guiding our choices? Does love guide our choice, or does hatred? In marriage, they say that there are 4 foundation stones to marriage, to a good marriage. And the first and the most important one is forgiveness. Because without forgiveness, the other 3 are meaningless. They're useless. Forgiveness. To forgive one another as Christ has forgiven us. The other 3 stones are very simple. They're faith, they're hope, they're love. But that forgiveness stone, that's the essential one. Because even though I love somebody, well, some days I got to forgive them. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm pretty sure that I ticked my parents off quite a few times. They didn't stop loving me. They didn't stop forgiving me. Forgiveness is that part. But it's also part of the humble, contrite heart. Do I recognize my faults and failings? Do I own my faults and failings? And do I seek forgiveness for them? Hope. Hope has an element of forgiveness in it too. Because oftentimes our hopes are crushed. And can we forgive that? How many parents have looked at their children and wondered what their child is going to grow up to be, and then their child doesn't grow up to be what mom and dad expected them to be? And all of a sudden there's a crushing of hope. And then there has to be that forgiveness for the other, but also for ourselves for having set us up for failure. Because sometimes that's our problem, is we have an expectation that is not even possible. It's like we tell the young people, you can be anything you want, you can be anything you want. But you can't. There are limitations. There are limitations. The person has eyesight problems, the person has hearing problems, the person has all kinds of issues. But you can be anything you want. Except no, you can't. There are limitations. And sometimes that diminishes our ability to choose. And of course, the final element is faith. Faith in God, faith in neighbor. And frequently, our faith gets shattered. Not our faith in God. Faith in God is permanent. But our faith in our neighbors, our expectation of neighbors, that one can get destroyed very, very quickly. And so, when we're invited to reflect upon our relationship with God, is God a want or a need? He's a need. Is a relationship with God a want or a need? Well, it's a need. It's what gets us through the day. And there's lots of people that claim, no, I don't need God. I don't need God. But you know what? When the proverbial hits the fan, who do they tune to? One of the things I always find amusing is you go to a hockey game, go to a baseball game, go to a basketball game, go to a soccer game. The amount of praying that takes place in the stands as people use God's name, and mostly use it in vain. Well, why are we using God's name if we don't believe in God? Maybe we should be using our own names, because we're the one that has set ourselves up. It's kind of like the athlete who curses and swears because they made a bad choice. Except they made the bad choice. Why are they not calling on themselves? Because they made the choice. It is July 28th, 2024, and it's the 17th Sunday in Ordinary Time. May God continue to watch over you, bless you, guard you, keep you safe all the days of your life.